The alarm bells rang through the ship as Jake Morrison finished his morning coffee. He had been drinking the same bitter black coffee for 20 years in the Marine Corps, and today felt no different than any other day. The U-East Defiance moved slowly through space near Jupiter, doing routine patrol work that usually meant nothing exciting would happen. Jake was a big man with gray hair and scars on his hands from old fights. He wore the blue uniform of Earth's Space Marines and carried himself like someone who had seen too much war. At 52, he was older than most Marines, but he knew his job better than anyone else on the ship. "Commander Morrison to the bridge," came the voice over the ship's speakers. Jake put down his coffee cup and walked through the metal hallways of the ship. Other crew members moved quickly past him, all heading to their stations. Something was happening. When Jake reached the bridge, he saw Captain Ryan Hughes standing in front of the main screen. Ryan was 35, younger than Jake, but a good officer who listened to his Marines. On the screen was something Jake had never seen before. The ship was huge, maybe 3 times bigger than the Defiance. It looked like someone had grown it instead of building it. The metal seemed to flow like water, and strange lights moved across its surface. It was beautiful and scary at the same time. "How long has it been there?" Jake asked. "It appeared 10 minutes ago," Ryan said. "No warning, no sound. It just showed up." Dr. Lisa Barnes stood next to the captain, holding a tablet computer. She was the ship's expert on alien life, though until now that had been just a theory job. Lisa was smart and calm, the kind of person who could think clearly when everyone else was panicking. "Are they trying to talk to us?" Jake asked. "Yes," Lisa said, looking at her tablet. "They're sending signals on multiple frequencies. It's definitely a language, but not like anything we've ever heard." The alien ship moved closer to the Defiance. It moved smoothly, without any sign of engines or thrust. Jake watched it carefully, thinking about how to defend his ship if needed. But the alien ship stopped at a safe distance and waited. "Captain," said the communications officer, "I think I'm getting something." "The computer is starting to understand." "Their language," Ryan nodded. "Put it through the speakers." Strange sounds filled the bridge. They were musical, like someone singing, but with clicks and whistles mixed in. After a few minutes, the computer began to translate the sounds into Fung, words that appeared on the screen. "Greetings to the small vessel. We come in peace. We wish to speak with your leaders." Jake felt his muscles tense. In his experience, anyone who said they came in peace usually meant trouble. But Ryan seemed excited. "Send a response," Ryan told the communications officer. "Tell them we greet them in peace too, and we're willing to talk." More musical sounds came from the alien ship. The translation appeared quickly now. "We are the Zalani Confederation. We have watched your species for many cycles. You seem like a peaceful people. May we send a small ship to meet with you?" Ryan looked at Jake, who shrugged. This was not his decision to make, but he would be ready for anything. "Tell them yes," Ryan said, "but only a small ship." A section of the alien ship opened, and a smaller vessel came out. It was still bigger than any human shuttle, but small enough that the Defiance could destroy it if needed. Jake felt a little better knowing that the alien shuttle moved toward the Defiance's docking bay. Jake gathered his Marine security team and headed down to meet their visitors. He carried his rifle, but kept it pointed down to show he was not planning to attack. The alien shuttle docked. Jake waited with 10 Marines. The door of the shuttle opened with a sound like air escaping, and the first aliens humans had ever met walked out. They looked like giant insects, but they walked on 2 legs like humans. They were 7 feet tall with 4 arms and skin that looked like green metal. Their heads were large with big black eyes, and they moved with quick, nervous motions. The lead alien stepped forward and made a sound that the translation device turned into words. I am Ambassador Kethver of the Zelani Confederation. We are honored to meet the humans of Earth. Captain Ryan had come down to the docking bay with Dr. Barnes. He stepped forward and smiled. I am Captain Ryan Hughes of the Earthship Defiance. Welcome to our ship. Ambassador Kethver made a sound that might have been laughter. Your ship is very small, but it seems well made. Your people are also small, but you seem intelligent. Jake didn't like the way the alien talked about humans being small. In his experience, people who pointed out your weaknesses or planning to use them against you. Dr. Barnes began asking questions about Zelani culture and technology. The aliens seemed happy to answer. They talked about their peaceful confederation of 7 different species, all living together without war or conflict. We have been watching Earth for some time, Ambassador Kethver said. Your people seem very calm and civilized. Your cities are well organized, and you take care of your environment. We see no signs of major conflicts or violence. Jake almost laughed. The aliens had been watching Earth, but somehow missed every war, every fight, every military base. They saw cities and farms, but didn't understand what they were really looking at. We would like to establish trade relations with Earth, the ambassador continued. We have much to offer a peaceful species like yours. Captain Ryan agreed to set up more meetings. The aliens left, promising to return with more representatives. As their shuttle flew back to the big ship, Jake watched through the window. What do you think, Jake? Ryan asked. Jake kept watching the alien ship. I think they have no idea who they're dealing with. Dr. Barnes looked confused. What do you mean? They think we're harmless, Jake said. They looked at our planet and saw peace. They didn't see our armies, our weapons, our wars. They think humans are weak. Maybe that's good, Ryan said. Maybe we can avoid conflict. Jake nodded, but he wasn't convinced. In his experience, when someone thought you were weak, they eventually tried to prove it. And that was when people got hurt. The alien ship disappeared as suddenly as it had arrived, leaving the Defiance alone in space again. But Jake knew this was just the beginning. The aliens would be back, and when they came, they would bring their assumptions about human weakness with them. That might be the biggest mistake they ever made. 3 months had passed since first contact, and the research station floating in the asteroid belt looked like a metal flower growing in space. Half of it was built by humans using their standard rectangular designs, while the other half was grown by the Zelani using their flowing, organic technology. The two halves fit together, but anyone could see they came from very different minds. Dr. Kevin Walsh walked through the human section of the station, carrying a stack of books and data tablets. He was a military historian who had volunteered for this assignment because he wanted to understand how different species thought about conflict and peace. Kevin was 43, thin, and wore glasses that he constantly pushed up his nose when he was thinking hard. A meeting room where humans and aliens held their daily cultural exchange sessions was in the middle of the station. Kevin entered to find the usual group waiting for him. Sergeant Maya Rodriguez stood near the door, her hand resting casually on her sidearm. Maya was 28, tough, and had joined the Marines to see action. Instead, she found herself babysitting scientists and aliens. Colonel Frank Davis sat at the head of the table, reviewing reports on his tablet. Frank was the station commander, a career military man who treated this assignment like any other mission. He was polite to the aliens, but never forgot that his job was to protect human interests. On the alien side of the table sat researcher Zixtal, a young Zelani who seemed fascinated by everything human. Zixtal was smaller than Ambassador Kethver, with brighter green skin and quicker movements. The alien asked endless questions, and took notes on everything. Next to Zixtel sat Trademaster Vul, an old alien from the Nefri species. Vul looked nothing like the insect-like Zelani. The Nefri lived on gas-giant planets and had thick, rubbery skin and tentacles instead of arms. Vul was over 300 years old and had been trading between star systems since before humans invented spaceflight. "Today I want to discuss human history," Kevin said, setting down his books. "Specifically, how humans handle disagreements between groups." Zixtal made the clicking sound that meant excitement. "Yes, we are very curious about this. Zelani society has no major conflicts. When we disagree, we release chemical signals that help everyone find compromise." Kevin nodded. "Humans don't have that ability. We have to use other methods." "What methods?" asked Trademaster Vul, his voice coming through a translation device that made him sound like he was speaking underwater. Kevin thought carefully about how to explain this. Over the past 3 months, he had learned that the aliens had a very different understanding of conflict. They saw disagreement as a simple problem to solve, not something that could lead to violence. "Well, we have laws and courts," Kevin said. "When people disagree, they can ask judges to decide who is right. And if someone refuses to accept the judge's decision?" Zixtal asked. "Then we have police to enforce the law," Kevin replied. "Police?" Vul asked. "We do not understand this concept." Sergeant Rodriguez stepped forward. "Police are people whose job is to make sure everyone follows the rules. They can arrest people who break the law." The aliens looked confused. Zixtal made several quick clicking sounds before speaking. "You mean some humans use force against other humans to make them obey?" "Sometimes," Kevin admitted. "But we have rules about when force can be used." This led to more confusion. The aliens could not understand why humans would need rules about using force. In their societies, force was simply not something that happened between intelligent beings. "What? About conflicts between larger groups?" Vul asked. "Between cities or regions?" Kevin knew he was getting into dangerous territory. "Sometimes we have wars." "Wars?" Zixtal leaned forward. "This is a word we have heard, but do not understand." Kevin looked at Colonel Davis, who nodded slightly. "War is when large groups of humans fight each other using weapons and military forces." The silence in the room was complete. Both aliens stared at Kevin as if he had said something impossible. "You mean humans intentionally harm other humans?" Zixtal finally asked. "Yes, but we have rules about it," Kevin said quickly. "We have something called the Geneva Conventions, which are international laws about how wars can be fought." "Rules about fighting?" Vul's tentacles moved in what Kevin had learned was a sign of confusion. "Why would you need rules for something that should not happen?" "Because it does happen," Sergeant Rodriguez said. "And when it happens, it's better to have rules than to have no limits at all." Zixtal was taking notes frantically. "These Geneva Conventions, what do they say?" Kevin spent the next hour explaining the basic principles of the laws of war. He talked about protecting civilians, treating prisoners humanely, and avoiding unnecessary suffering. The aliens listened with growing amazement. "So humans can be violent, but they choose to limit their violence?" Zixtal asked. "Exactly," Kevin said. "The rules exist because we know what humans are capable when there are no rules." "This is very strange," Vul said. "In our experience, intelligent species do not have the capacity for organized violence. It is not possible for civilized beings." Colonel Davis had been quiet through most of the discussion, but now he spoke up. "Maybe human civilization is different from yours." "Perhaps," Vul said, but Kevin could tell the alien didn't really believe. Humans were capable of serious violence. To Vul, humans were small, weak creatures who might push each other around, but could never be truly dangerous. As the weeks passed, Kevin noticed that the aliens' attitude toward humans was changing, but not in a good way. The Zelani and other Confederation species began to act like they were dealing with children. They spoke to humans in simple terms and made decisions without consulting their human partners. Trade negotiations became increasingly one-sided. Aliens offered small amounts of basic technology in exchange for large quantities of human resources. When human negotiators objected, the aliens simply ignored them or acted surprised that humans would disagree with their generous offers. Sergeant Rodriguez reported that alien ships were beginning to patrol near human asteroid mining operations. When she asked what they were doing, the aliens said they were protecting human miners from dangerous space debris. But Rodriguez could see they were really studying human operations and marking the most valuable mining sites. They think we're pushovers, Rodriguez told Kevin after one particularly frustrating day. They're testing us, seeing how much they can get away with. Kevin had to agree. The aliens had listened to his explanations about human conflict and somehow concluded that humans were not capable of serious resistance. They heard about laws and rules and decided that meant humans were naturally passive. Colonel Davis called a meeting with the human staff. "I've been getting reports from Earth Command," he said. "Alien ships are showing up near our colonies, claiming they have rights to mine asteroids in those systems. They're not attacking, but they're not asking permission either." "What are orders?" Rodriguez asked. "For now, we watch and report," Davis said, "but I want everyone to be ready. I think this situation is going to get worse before it gets better." Kevin looked out the window at the alien section of the station. Through the transparent walls, he could see Zelani technicians working on their equipment. They moved with the confidence of people who believed they were completely safe. "They have no idea what they're dealing with," Kevin said quietly. "What do you mean?" Davis asked. "They think our rules make us weak," Kevin explained. "They don't understand that we have rules because we're dangerous without them. They see our laws and our restraint and think we're harmless." Rodriguez checked her weapon out of habit. "Maybe it's time someone explained the difference to them." Kevin nodded. The aliens had spent months learning about human culture, but they had completely misunderstood the most important thing about humans. They thought civilization meant the absence of the capacity for violence. They didn't realize that true civilization meant having that capacity and choosing not to use it. That was a lesson the Zelani Confederation was about to learn the hard way. The conference room felt smaller than usual, with so many beings packed inside. Ambassador Elena Vasquez sat across from Council Prime Nalfic, whose image appeared on a large holographic display. Even through the quantum communication link, Elena could see the supreme leader of the Zelani Confederation looked annoyed. Elena was Earth's top diplomat, a woman who had spent 30 years learning how to stay calm when everyone else wanted to fight. At 55, she had gray streaks in her black hair and the kind of steady voice that made people listen. Today, that voice carried an edge of anger that surprised everyone in the room. 3 more human cargo ships were seized yesterday, Elena said, reading from her tablet. "Your people boarded them, removed the crews, and claimed the ships contained illegal materials." "What illegal materials?" Council Prime Nalfic's insect-like face showed no emotion. "The ships were carrying weapons. The Confederation cannot allow weapons to move freely through our space." "Our space?" Elena's voice got louder. "Those ships were in the Sol system, nowhere near Confederation territory. The Confederation has decided that all space within 50 light-years of our worlds is under our protection." Nalfic replied, "We are simply ensuring the safety of all species in this region." Dr. Patricia Stone sat next to Elena, taking notes on her tablet. Patricia was a military psychologist who studied how different groups thought about conflict and power. She was 41, quiet and very good at reading what people really meant when they spoke. "With respect, Council Prime," Patricia said. You're expanding your territory into human space without any negotiation or agreement. We do not believe humans have the capacity to properly govern such a large area, Nalthek said. You are a peaceful species, but you lack the strength to maintain order. We are helping you. Elena felt her hands clench into fists under the table. The aliens had been getting more aggressive for weeks, taking over human operations and treating Earth's government like children who needed supervision. War Scholar Grix appeared on the holographic display next to Nalthek. Grix was from the Skarn species, reptilian aliens who were the closest thing the Confederation had to warriors. Even Grix looked more like a university professor than a soldier. The humans claimed to have military forces, Grix said with a sound. That might have been laughter. But we have observed these forces. They are small, poorly equipped, and seem to spend most of their time following rules and procedures. They are not a threat to anyone. Elena looked at Patricia, who nodded slightly. They had both expected this attitude from the aliens. For months, human diplomats had tried to explain Earth's military capabilities, but the aliens simply didn't believe humans could be dangerous. Perhaps we should call in someone with practical experience, Elena said, pressing a button on the table. The door opened and Gunnery Sergeant Alex Turner walked in. Alex was 34 years old, 6 feet tall, and built like someone who had spent his whole adult life in combat. He had scars on his face and hands, and he moved with the careful awareness of a man who had been shot at many times. Alex had fought in 3 different colonial wars, leading Marines against pirates, terrorists, and rebel groups. He wore his dress uniform with ribbons showing his combat service, but to the aliens, he probably looked like any other small human. Consul Prime, War Scholar, this is Gunnery Sergeant Turner, Elena said. He has extensive experience with human military operations. Alex sat down and looked at the holographic aliens. Good afternoon, Sergeant Turner, Nalthek said. We have been discussing human military capabilities. Our analysis suggests that human forces are primarily ceremonial, designed more for show than for actual combat. Alex was quiet for a moment, then smiled. It was not a friendly smile. You think human military forces are for show? Alex asked. Yes, Grix said. Your soldiers carry small weapons and follow many rules. They seem more like a police force than a true military. What makes you think that? Alex asked. We have studied your history, Nalthek said. Humans have created many laws about warfare. You have treaties limiting the use of certain weapons, rules about how to treat prisoners, and requirements to protect civilians. No species that was truly militaristic would accept such limitations. Alex leaned back in his chair. So you think our rules make us weak? Obviously, Grix said. A strong military would not need rules. Alex looked at Elena, who nodded. Would you like me to explain why we have those rules? Please, Nalthek said, sounding like an adult humoring a child. Alex stood up and walked to the front of the room. The Geneva Conventions have 4 main parts, he began. The first part says we can't attack hospitals, schools, or religious buildings during a war. The aliens looked confused. Why would you attack such places? Grix asked. Because they're often the most important buildings in an enemy city, Alex said matter-of-factly. Destroy the hospital, and wounded enemy soldiers die instead of returning to fight. Destroy the schools, and you damage the enemy's ability to train new leaders. It's very effective. The room got quiet. Patricia saw Nalthek's large black eyes get wider. The second part, Alex continued, says we have to treat prisoners of war humanely. We can't torture them, starve them, or execute them. Why would you do such things? Nalthek asked, and for the first time, he sounded uncertain. Information, Alex said simply. A captured enemy soldier knows things you need to know. Troop movements, supply locations, battle plans. Torture is very effective for getting that information, but we agreed not to do it. Grix was making notes on a device, but his hands were shaking slightly. What about the other parts? The third part limits what weapons we can use, Alex said. No chemical weapons, no biological weapons, no weapons designed to cause unnecessary suffering. Unnecessary suffering? Patricia asked, though she knew the answer. Poison gas that makes people die slowly and in agony, Alex explained. Diseases. That spread through enemy populations. Bullets designed to tumble inside the body and cause maximum damage. We could use all of these things, but we agreed not to. Elena watched the aliens' faces change as they began to understand what Alex was really saying. The fourth part, Alex said, requires us to distinguish between soldiers and civilians. We're not supposed to target civilian populations. Not supposed to? Nalfik's voice was very quiet now. It's against the rules, Alex said. But from a military standpoint, attacking civilian targets is often the fastest way to end a war. Bomb the cities, destroy the food production, make the civilian population suffer, and the enemy government will surrender to stop the pain. War scholar Grix leaned forward. You are saying that humans have agreed not to use their most effective weapons and tactics? That's exactly what I'm saying, Alex replied. The Geneva Conventions exist because humans are very, very good at killing each other. We had to create rules to make war less horrible. But why? Nalfik asked. If you can do all these things, why limit yourselves? Alex sat back down and looked directly at the holographic display. Because we learned what happens when there are no rules. We fought wars where entire cities were burned to the ground. We created weapons that could kill millions of people in seconds. We found ways to make our enemies suffer that were so terrible we decided never to use them again. The conference room was completely silent. Elena could hear the air recycling system humming in the walls. We don't have rules of war because we're weak, Alex said quietly. We have rules of war because we're too good at it. Without those rules, we don't fight wars. We commit genocide. Patricia watched the aliens process this information. She could see the exact moment when they realized what it meant. Your species voluntarily limits its own military power? Griggs asked. Every day, Alex said. Every human soldier learns not just how to fight, but when not to fight. We teach them not just how to kill, but when not to kill. The hardest part of military training isn't learning how to use weapons. It's learning how to control yourself when you have them. Council Prime Nalfik was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was different. We may have misunderstood human nature, he said slowly. Alex smiled again, and this time it was almost friendly. Yeah, you might have. Elena leaned forward. Now that we understand each other better, perhaps we can discuss the return of our cargo ships. The negotiation that followed was very different from previous talks. The aliens were polite, respectful, and eager to find compromises. They agreed to return the seized ships and to establish clear boundaries for their patrols. As the meeting ended and the alien leaders signed off, Elena looked at Alex. Thank you, Sergeant. That was very educational. Alex nodded. They needed to understand what they were dealing with. Most species probably evolved differently than we did. They probably never had to learn to control their own violence because they never developed that much capacity for it. Patricia was still taking notes. It's fascinating from a psychological perspective. They saw our restraint as weakness instead of strength. That's a dangerous mistake, Alex said. The most dangerous human is one who knows exactly how much damage he can do and chooses not to do it. Elena gathered her papers as the aliens disconnected from the call. I think our relationship with the Confederation just changed significantly. For the better? Patricia asked. Alex looked out the window at the stars. We'll find out. But at least now, they know what they're really negotiating with. General Marcus Brooks stood in the command center of Earth's military headquarters, watching. A holographic display that showed the outer edge of human space. Red dots marked the positions of Zilani ships, and there were far more of them than there had been a week ago. Marcus was 58 years old and had been planning military operations since before humans knew aliens existed. He was tall, thin, and had the kind of gray eyes that seemed to see everything. Right now, those eyes were focused on a particular red dot near the Ceres mining facility. How many hostages? He asked. Lieutenant Commander Sam Parker checked his tablet. 47 miners and 12 security personnel. The Zilani are holding them in the main facility while their ships mine the asteroids. Sam was 29, smart, and had graduated top of his class from the Naval Academy. He served as Marcus's aide and tactical officer, which meant he spent most of his time trying to turn the general's ideas into workable plans. What's their stated reason for the seizure? Marcus asked. They claim the mining operation violated Confederation environmental protection laws, Sam replied. They say they're protecting the asteroid belt from human contamination. Chief Petty Officer Nicole Grant looked up from her computer station. Sir, that's complete garbage. The Ceres facility has been operating for 15 years without any environmental issues. Nicole was 32, an explosives expert who had joined the Navy to blow things up and stayed because she was very good at it. She had short red hair and the kind of practical attitude that came from working with dangerous materials every day. Marcus nodded. It's a test. They want to see how we respond when they take our people and our property. The situation had been building for 2 weeks since Sergeant Turner's explanation about human military capabilities. The Confederation Council had been divided about what to do with their new understanding of humanity. Some wanted to negotiate as equals, but others thought Turner had been lying to make humans seem more dangerous than they really were. Battle Lord. Drax had been the loudest voice arguing that humans were using psychological warfare to avoid real conflict. Drax was from the Skarn species and was as close to a military leader as the Confederation had. He believed the only way to know if humans were truly dangerous was to force them to fight. Sir, Sam said, we're getting a transmission from Fleet Master Korth. He's commanding the Zilani ships at Ceres. Put him through, Marcus ordered. The main screen showed a Zilani in military uniform. Fleet Master Korth was larger than the diplomats Marcus had met, with darker green skin and additional armor plating. His 4 arms moved constantly as he spoke. General Brooks, Korth said through the translation system. I am Fleet Master Korth of the Zilani Defense Force. I have assumed control of the Ceres mining facility to protect it from human mismanagement. Fleet Master, Marcus replied, you are holding 59 human civilians against their will in violation of every treaty between our species. I am ordering you to release them immediately. Korth made a sound that the translator turned into laughter. General, your species has shown us that you prefer negotiation to action. I am confident we can reach a peaceful solution that benefits both our peoples. The peaceful solution is for you to leave our facility and return our people, Marcus. Sighed, I'm afraid that's not possible, Korth replied. The Confederation has determined that this facility must remain under our supervision. Your people will be released once they accept Confederation management of the operation. Marcus looked at Sam, who shook his head. The aliens were not going to negotiate. They were testing human resolve, betting that humans would back down rather than fight. Fleet Master, you have 1 hour to begin evacuation of Confederation forces from the Ceres facility, Marcus said. After that, we will consider your presence an act of war. Korth's large black eyes seemed to shine with amusement. "General, we have studied your military capabilities. Your ships are small and lightly armed. We have 12 vessels defending this facility, each one larger and more powerful than anything in your fleet. I do not believe you will attack us." "We'll see," Marcus said, and cut the transmission. Nicole looked up from her computer. "Sir, should I prep the task force?" "Already done," Marcus said. "Sam, what's our force composition?" Sam pulled up the tactical display. The UES Retribution and 4 destroyers. Total crew of 800. The Retribution carries our new stealth fighters and the Mark 7 electronic warfare suite. Against 12 alien capital ships, Nicole said. "This is going to be interesting." Marcus had spent the last 2 weeks planning for exactly this scenario. Earth's military had always been designed to fight other humans, which meant they were very good at fighting enemies who had similar technology and tactics. The aliens had better technology in some areas, but they had never fought anyone who shot back. "Sam, transmit the mission parameters to Captain Williams on the Retribution," Marcus ordered. "Rules of engagement are minimal necessary force. We want the hostages back alive, and the aliens convinced, not dead." "Yes, sir," Sam said, sending the encrypted orders. Marcus watched the tactical display as 5 human ships moved toward the Ceres facility. They were tiny compared to the alien vessels, but Marcus knew that size wasn't everything in space combat. The human ships approached the facility slowly, making no attempt to hide their presence. Fleet Master Korth's ships moved to intercept them, forming a defensive line between the humans and the asteroid. "Sir," Nicole said, "the Retribution is reporting that alien ships are powering weapons." "Expected," Marcus said. "Korth wants to scare us off with a show of force." The first surprise came when the human ships simply disappeared from the alien sensors. The Retribution's electronic warfare suite was something new, designed to fight human opponents who knew all about human technology. Against aliens who had never seen it before, it was devastating. Fleet Master Korth found himself staring at empty space, where 5 human ships had been just seconds before. His own sensors showed nothing, but he knew the humans were still there. So where got the second surprise came when Korth's flagship lost power. The ship didn't explode or catch fire. It just stopped working. Engines, weapons, life support, communications, everything shut down at once. The other alien ships tried to help, but the same thing happened to them one by one. Nicole watched the tactical display with professional interest. The electronic warfare boys really outdid themselves this time. Complete system shutdown without permanent damage. "How long will they be down?" Marcus asked. "About 20 minutes for full restart," Sam replied. "Long enough for our people to do their job." The rescue operation began while the alien ships floated helplessly in space. Human Marines in stealth. Suits landed on the Ceres facility and moved through the corridors like ghosts. The Zelani guards never saw them coming. The hostages were moved to safe areas while the Marines disabled the alien equipment without damaging the facility itself. The whole operation took exactly 17 minutes, and not a single shot was fired. When Fleet Master Korth's ships came back online, they found the facility empty of Confederation forces. The human ships had reappeared and were waiting in formation around the asteroid. "General Brooks," came Korth's voice over the communication system. He sounded very different than he had an hour before. We did not detect your approach." "How did you disable our ships?" "The same way we could have destroyed them if we had wanted to," Marcus replied. "Fleet Master, your people are safe aboard their own ships. I suggest you return to Confederation space and report to your superiors." There was a long pause before Korth responded. "General, we had no idea humans possessed such capabilities." "Now you do," Marcus said. The next time Confederation forces enter human space without permission, we may not be so restrained. The alien ships began moving away from the facility, but Korth stayed on the communication channel. "General, may I ask a question?" "Go ahead," Marcus said. "You could have destroyed our ships and killed our crews, but you chose not to. Why?" Marcus thought about Sergeant Turner's explanation to the Confederation Council. "Because we only used the force necessary to achieve our objectives. Our objective was to recover our people and protect our facility. We did that. But we threatened you," Korth said. "We took your people hostage. In our culture, such an act would demand revenge." "In our culture," Marcus replied, "strength is knowing when not to use your full power. We could have killed you, but we didn't need to. That's the difference between having power and being controlled by it." The alien ships disappeared into faster-than-light travel, leaving human space as quickly as they could. Marcus watched them go on the tactical display. "Sir," Sam said, "Earth Command is requesting a full report." "Tell them mission accomplished with 0 casualties," Marcus said. "All hostages recovered, all objectives achieved." Nicole was already working on her computer. "Sir, I'm getting reports from other facilities. Alien ships are pulling back from human territory all along the border." Marcus nodded. "Word travels fast. I expect the Confederation Council will want to have some serious conversations about the future of human-alien relations." Sam looked at the tactical display, which now showed empty space where 12 alien warships had been just an hour before. "Do you think they'll try something like this again?" "Not for a while," Marcus said. "They came here thinking humans were too civilized to fight effectively. They learned that being civilized doesn't mean being helpless." Nicole saved her files and looked up. "The next time they want to test human resolve, they'll think twice about it." Marcus walked to the window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, Fleet Master Korth was reporting to his superiors about human military capabilities. That report was going to change everything about how the Confederation saw humanity. "The real question," Marcus said, "is what they do with that knowledge. Some species might decide humans are too dangerous to deal with. Others might decide we're valuable allies precisely because we know how to control our own power." "Which do you think it will be?" Sam asked. Marcus smiled. "I think it depends on how smart they are. And from what I've seen of the Confederation, they're pretty smart. Smart enough to learn from their mistakes." The rescue operation at Ceres became the moment when human-alien relations changed forever. The aliens had tested human resolve and found it made of steel wrapped in velvet. They discovered that the most dangerous opponents were not those who loved war, but those who understood it well enough to use it precisely and sparingly. Most importantly, they learned that true strength came not from the ability to destroy your enemies, but from the wisdom to know when destruction was unnecessary. The Confederation Council chamber looked different than it had 6 months ago. Where once 7 alien species had sat in comfortable certainty about their place in the galaxy, now they gathered with the careful respect of beings who had learned that the universe was more dangerous than they had imagined. Council Prime Nalthik stood at the center of the circular chamber, his green insect-like form smaller than usual. Around him, representatives from the other 6 species watched holographic displays showing human military installations that they had never been allowed to see before. "The analysis is complete," Nalthik announced to the assembled council. "Our assessment of human military capabilities was incorrect by a factor of approximately 1,000. War Scholar Grix, the reptilian Skarn representative, shifted uncomfortably in his seat. "The humans at Ceres disabled 12 of our best warships without firing a single weapon. Our military analysts still do not understand how they did it." Admiral Jennifer Cole sat in the Human Observer section, watching the aliens struggle with their new reality. Jennifer was 52, a career Navy officer who had been promoted to the Joint Chiefs, specifically to handle human-alien relations. She wore her dress uniform with its rows of ribbons, but today those ribbons looked different to the aliens who saw them. Next to Jennifer sat Sergeant Alex Turner, who had become something of a celebrity in Confederation space. Alex still couldn't quite believe that his explanation about war crimes had led to him being invited to speak at alien military academies, but he took the job seriously. Admiral Cole, Nelthik said, the Confederation Council formally requests to revise all existing treaties between our species. Jennifer stood up. The United Earth government is willing to negotiate new agreements based on mutual respect and accurate understanding of all parties' capabilities. The negotiations that followed were unlike anything in Confederation history. For the first time, the aliens were dealing with a species that they knew could destroy them if it chose to. But more importantly, they were dealing with a species that chose not to. Dr. Patricia Stone sat in the corner of the chamber, taking notes on her tablet. Patricia had been studying interspecies psychology for months now, trying to understand how different species thought about power and conflict. What she was seeing today was fascinating. The most interesting thing, Patricia said to Alex during a break in the negotiations, is how their entire social structure is changing. They're having to rethink everything they thought they knew about civilization. Alex nodded. It's like they thought being civilized meant being harmless. They never considered that true civilization might mean being powerful enough to destroy your enemies, but choosing not to. On the other side of the chamber, Peacekeeper Veltar was having a similar conversation with other Zelani officials. Veltar was a military reformer who had been arguing for years that the Confederation needed better defenses. Now suddenly, everyone was listening to him. We must completely rebuild our understanding of galactic politics, Veltar said. If humans can develop such capabilities, other species might have them as well. We have been vulnerable this entire time and never knew it. Professor Carl Mitchell walked over to join the conversation. Carl was a human expert on alien cultures who had spent months learning Zelani language and customs. He was 45, friendly, and had the kind of patient personality that made him good at explaining complicated ideas to people who thought very differently than humans did. The key insight, Carl said to Veltar, is that military strength and peaceful intentions are not contradictory. The strongest military can belong to the most peaceful society if that society has learned to control its own power. Trade Master Vool floated nearby in his environmental suit, listening to the conversation. The old Nefri, huh? He'd been quiet during most of the council session, but now he spoke up. In 300 years of trading between star systems, Vool said, I have never encountered a species like humans. Most species develop either technological power or moral restraint, but not both. Humans seem to have developed them together. That's because we had to, Alex said. Human history is full of examples of what happens when you have power without restraint. We learned to control ourselves because the alternative was destroying ourselves. The formal negotiations resumed with the signing of new treaties that recognized Earth as an equal partner in the galactic community. The trade agreements were rewritten to benefit both sides fairly. Mutual defense pacts were signed that acknowledged human military capabilities while committing both sides to peaceful resolution of conflicts. But the most significant change was in how the aliens thought about humans. Where once they had seen a weak species that needed protection, now they saw potential allies who brought unique strengths to the Confederation. Admiral Cole, Nelthik said as the treaties were signed, the Confederation Council would like to request human military advisors to help us improve our own defensive capabilities. Jennifer smiled. We would be happy to share our knowledge of defensive strategy and military organization. But I think the more important exchange would be for humans to learn from Confederation diplomatic and conflict resolution techniques. You mean learning from each other instead of one side teaching the other? Asked researcher Zixtau, who had been taking notes throughout the session. Exactly, Jennifer said. Humans are good at military strategy, but you're much better at preventing conflicts from starting in the first place. We could learn a lot from your diplomatic methods. This led to the establishment of the Interspecies Military and Diplomatic Academy, located on a new station built jointly by human and Confederation technology. Alex Turner was appointed as the first human instructor, teaching courses on military ethics and the philosophy of controlled force. The hardest part of my job, Alex told his first class of alien military officers, is teaching you that the most important weapon any soldier can have is the judgment to know when not to use any weapon at all. The class was made up of representatives from all 7 Confederation species, plus a few humans who were learning alien diplomatic techniques. They sat in a circle, which was the Confederation way of showing that everyone was equal. A young Zalani officer raised one of his 4 hands. Instructor Turner, if humans are so capable of violence, how do you control yourselves in daily life? Alex thought about the question carefully. We teach our children from a very young age that having the power to hurt someone doesn't give you the right to do it. We create laws and social rules that make it clear when force is acceptable and when it isn't. Most importantly, we teach people to be proud of their restraint, not just their strength. An older scarred officer spoke up. But what about when someone threatens you? Don't you want to use your full power to stop them? Sometimes, Alex admitted. But that's when training and discipline matter most. A professional soldier learns to use exactly as much force as necessary to achieve the mission, and no more. Using more force than you need doesn't make you stronger. It makes you less professional. Dr. Stone had been observing these classes for her research, and she was amazed by how quickly the alien students adapted to human military concepts. They were particularly interested in the idea that strength and restraint could work together. What I find most fascinating, Patricia told Alex after one class, is how they're starting to apply these concepts to their own diplomatic methods. They're realizing that their negotiations might be more effective if other species knew they had the option to use force, but chose not to. 6 months after the series incident, human-Confederation relations had transformed completely. Trade flowed both ways on equal terms. Joint exploration missions pushed the boundaries of known space. Most importantly, both sides had learned to respect each other's strengths while acknowledging their own weaknesses. Admiral Cole stood on the observation deck of the new Academy station, watching human and alien students work together on joint exercises. Through the transparent walls, she could see ships from both civilizations moving through space in coordinated patterns. Alex joined her at the window. "Looks like it's working out," he said. "Better than I expected," Jennifer replied. "I was worried that once they knew how dangerous we could be, they'd be afraid to work with us. Instead, they want to learn from us," Alex said. "And we're learning from them. Turns out they have a lot to teach us about preventing conflicts before they start." A young Zalani cadet walked past them, chatting with a human Marine about patrol tactics. The 2 species that had almost gone to war 6 months ago were now planning their futures together. "You know what I think the real lesson is?" Alex said as he watched the mixed groups of students. "What's that?" Jennifer asked. "True strength isn't about how much damage you can do," Alex said. "It's about having the power to solve problems in the way that causes the least harm to everyone involved. The Confederation taught us that, and we taught them that sometimes you need to be capable of causing harm in order to have the choice not to." Jennifer nodded. "It's like that old saying, speak softly and carry a big stick. But the most important part isn't having the stick. It's knowing when to use it and when to keep it holstered." From the observation deck, They could see the vast expanse of space that humans and aliens now explored together. It was a bigger, more dangerous universe than either species had imagined when they first met. But it was also a universe full of possibilities that neither could have achieved alone. The lesson of the series incident had spread throughout both civilizations. That true civilization came not from being incapable of violence, but from being capable of it and choosing peace instead. It was a lesson that would shape the future of both species as they moved forward together into the unknown galaxy. In the end, the aliens had been right about one thing. Humans were a peaceful species. They had just misunderstood what peace really meant. Peace wasn't the absence of the capacity for war. It was the presence of the wisdom to avoid it. And that wisdom, more than any weapon, made humanity the kind of ally the Confederation had been looking for all along.